Well, howdy there, folks. How's it going today? I hope everyone's doing really good. Boy, I've got an awful mess going here on the bench. Well, what I'm doing here is trying to make a template so I can transfer this onto actually a piece of plexiglass. Then I'm going to route out the cavities here into the plexiglass, and I'll have a template that I can keep forever, and it should last. So, a lot of work, a lot of intricate cuts and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so basically what I did, I took a big piece of paper. I had an old desk calendar here, and good sized paper. It's outdated, obviously, but I kept it for that reason, so I'd have a big piece of paper to work with if I ever needed it. Well, today I need it, so there we go. So what I did is I took that piece of paper, laid it on the bench. Sorry about all the hand gestures there. And then I set the guitar on top of it, okay? Traced it out with a pencil. And then I actually took a pair of scissors and tried to cut that out as close as I could get it. I took a little razor knife to get the cavity traces. But the way to get the traces is pretty simple too. So basically what I did is I just lined everything up after I cut the shape of the body out. Then I took some masking tape and just taped this paper to the guitar. And again, I just tried to line it up on the edges all the way around, okay? Now once I did that, I taped it to the guitar, and I just took a pencil and I went around and just did some light rubbing to get the shapes to come through on the paper. Now, pretty simple. I know this isn't rocket science here, but I did learn a little something doing it, okay? Now, when I was doing this, I started out going back and forth like this across the paper, okay? Let me kind of zoom you in here. So, yeah, you'll get a line that will start to form. You can see this little line form. But actually, if you hold the pencil sideways and just rub it on the cavity, you'll get a lot better line. It's more pronounced and it's straighter. That wasn't a very good example of how it works, but that's just something I came across while I was doing it. Okay, so after I got that all taken care of, I took the template. Let me move this body here. And I laid the template onto a piece of plexiglass. What's this stuff called? Macrolon, I think it's called. I think that's the brand name. It's about quarter an inch thick, and should work good, you know, as far as having something to use with your router. So basically the same idea here. I just tried to line everything up with the plexiglass. Now it was a square piece when I started, so basically what I did was just set this on there, taped it to the plexiglass, and then I took some spray paint and I actually just dusted it with some orange spray paint, as you can see on the template here. And the reason I did that, it's just easier to mark stuff. You can write on it. The clear plexiglass is a little tricky. So, you know, I still need to do a little more shaping on this. It's kind of rough in a few spots, but I will do that. And it's, you know, good enough to use. I could use it now. But another thing I noticed, now you have this covering, plastic covering that's on here that looks like this. It's on both sides, okay? Tells you what it's all made of and everything. Now, if you look close, you'll see these lines that are on that paper, and they're straight. They're going both ways, you know, longitude and latitude. So I was able to use those for referencing, and that's pretty big. That's something that really kind of helped me out. I had something to measure off. But what I first did was established a center line out of the neck pocket. I went down to the strap button, And I checked it first as close as I could to see if that was centered also. I'm pretty sure it was, so I took a straight edge, went from mark to mark, and I think we're in good shape. Okay, so basically what I got to do, I'm going to double check all this too, but the guitar that I traced this off had a route for a humbucker in the front. I think I'm going to leave that and put the humbucker route in the body. So if I want to put a humbucker in it, I can. Might as well do it while I have the router right out. Chances are I'll probably do it before it's all said and done anyway. Who knows? I'll have the option anyway. So here you can see the route for the wiring. And then this is where your control plate will be. Now, there's two separate routes. They route out for the controls, and then there's a little shelf right here on the edges, and the control plate actually sits on that little shelf, and that recesses it down into the body, okay? I think it's pretty decent. Like I said, I'm going to check this over a little more, and I'm going to definitely, kind of clean this up and make this line disappear from my magic marker, see? When that line's gone, that should be it. Should look like that. So I got a little more tinkering to do on it, but it's coming pretty good. Now, the next thing is this. The neck pockets, depending on the neck that you're going to use, this, is either going to be right or wrong. So I'm going to set this up for a standard width heel of a fender neck and just go from there. That way, if I buy a standardized neck, it should work with my template. And other than that, I need to take a router and route these out now. And then I'll have something to set right on the wood and center it up. Then I can take my router and route the cavities out. Okay, so I took that template and the paper one, set it on this body and mark that out. Now you can see I need to shrink the end up to this line right here, okay? So I got a little bit of shaping left to do, but that's okay. I know where I got to start from. I've got the whole thing laid out, and the neck pocket's going to be right. I'm just, kind of mocking this up with a pick guard and trying to line things up and see how close it's going to look. It's looking pretty good. Now, I've made a line here in the middle, too. Now, this isn't sanded, so I'll have to do all that as well. So far, it looks like my template is going to be right. It should be straight, and it should work fine. So again, it just takes a lot of measuring and a lot of precision to get that template. Once I get the template nailed down and it's correct, then I can just replicate these one after another in a very simple fashion. So again, a lot of prep work here, and it's going to be a fun project. I think they'll look pretty neat too when I get done. I like the white guard on it already, so there's that too. It's good just to lay things out. Now, these are going to be pancaked together. These are inch-thick ash planks. No knots or anything. So I'm going to make a tele, and I also have a piece of cherry that's 2 1/8 inches thick. So that one belongs to a buddy of mine. We're going to rough that out here pretty soon too. The body's a little bit smaller on that one, just because of the wood. It was really close, but we thought it was big enough to squeeze a tele on there anyway. So again, I've kind of marked out this little shelf. It's not really centered in there, but it would still work that way. It's just a little bit that hangs out, and it's probably, it's recessed the thickness of this plate. roughly. Now, some of them will stick up a little bit too, and you don't have to do that. You can just bolt it right on like this one. I think that's just bolted to the top of the guitar. So there's always that option. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. I may just secure it right there. I think that looks good. Most of them are like that anyway. Now this little Mustang's got the same thing. It's just screwed to the top. So we'll see. The tele that I took the sketches off was actually recessed, so it's flush. But, again, to each his own. That's a simple thing. If you want to do that, it's just one more step, and you can do that. So this is pretty much what's going to be on this. I'm going to put a Wilkinson. I think this is Wilkinson. Yeah, well, that come off the tele that I took the drawings from, but that's probably what's going to go on it. Wilkinson with the compensated brass saddles. I like it. I think they work good. I like the brass saddles. I think it changes the tone a little bit. That's just me. And it's got a neat look to it. It's got that vintage kind of vibe, but the compensated saddles are definitely the way to go. So they're filed off to compensate for the intonation. And the other thing, I do like having two strings holding one saddle down. You know what I mean? I don't mind the individual saddles. It just makes more sense to me if they're held down with two strings. I think you get better pressure and less buzz. Okay, guys, well, I did get the cavity holes drilled out in the template, and I'm still kind of working on shaping it a little too. It's pretty close though. I just got a few little things to do around the bottom cutaway, and also I made a mistake, and the control cavity I made a little bit big, so I'm going to take a piece and glue it in here so that you have that little bit of overhang. Now you got to have enough clearance so you can put a big pot in there, okay? That's really all you need. There are a few things in hindsight I would do differently. First of all, you don't need a router to do this. I did this by drilling holes in the drill press, and then I just took a file and a jigsaw. I started with a jigsaw and kind of cleaned it up, and then took a file. You can still see that it needs a little more love there, but that's the way I did it. Now, when I end up drilling this body out, from what I gathered, I think the best way to do it, for me, is going to be to drill these out in the drill press. I'm going to get a Forstner bit and drill them close to the right depth, not exactly. And once I get those all drilled out, the neck pocket as well, then I'll take a router and just set my template back on here, use that to guide me, so I can just clean up the bottom floor of the routes, okay? And that's really an easy way to do it. And you could use a plunge router and do the whole thing, take it in steps, but I'm going to drill a lot of it out and then just clean the rest of it up with a router. Okay, so one thing I will say, the next body that I cut out, I'm going to do it with a jigsaw instead of a bandsaw, okay? It just saves a lot of handwork. Now, you can get pretty close with a bandsaw, but one false move and you're into the body. So the other thing, you have to keep making these relief cuts and then cut your way in with a bandsaw. With a jigsaw, as long as that's sitting flat, I'll be able to go right around there with ease. So it just gives me a lot more control. So that's something that I will be probably doing the next time. Now, the other thing is, once you get your body marked out, you need to establish a center line, okay? Now, that needs to go through right between the D string and the G string, That's the center, okay? And what I did, I just found the center of the neck pocket, and I was able to run a line down through. I actually put the line down through after I had set the bridge on, put a pit guard on it, and just kind of, and the control plate, and just kind of roughed that out. As you saw, now I have these two pieces screwed together, and I just drilled a hole in one of the routes here and put a couple screws in. That way I can, shape this on the belt sander or using a rasp or whatever. And, when I get done, they'll be symmetrical and even with each other all the way around. So that's just a few things I've noticed, already that I would do different. So I thought I would share that information with you guys. Okie doke. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to establish the neck pocket. Now this is the neck I'm going to put on it here. This is made out of Wengi, and it's got the truss rod adjustment down here. It has the thumb wheel, with the holes in it. So I'm going to have to probably notch the pit guard out a little bit too when I get ready to do that, which isn't a big deal. Now the reason I want to establish the neck pocket first is because I want to make sure that is in line with this center line on the body. And I think if I put that in first, I'll be able to use that as a reference point as well. I'll be able to put a square on it, run straight edges down each side of the neck, and just get a kind of a gist and a feel for what's going to be there as far as the alignment. And once the alignment's done and this neck is straight to the body, I can just, again, use it for a reference to locate all the other pieces and at least double check them. I think it's good to, do that first, like I said. Once you have your center line established, just try to line everything up, mark that out, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to drill inside and then take a little finish router, laminate router, and just clean up the bottom floor of the cavity. And then we'll locate the neck bolts and get that all secured and get the neck so it's bolted on and straight. Once that's done, I don't see no big deal with the rest of it, Again, I'm just going to drill these out with a drill press. You could do it with a handheld drill, even, set your depth and get that correct. So, at the end of the day, I think that's going to be a pretty good way to go. Now, again, this is really kind of experimental, the way I'm doing it, but, I feel pretty confident that once I get that straight, we should be good to go. Well, all right, folks, I'll keep you posted. Like I said, I've got the body screwed together right now, too. I drilled a couple holes in the cavities here that are going to get, taken out, and just secured both pieces together because this is going to be a pancake body. So I got a little more, sanding and whatnot to do, and I want to make sure that they're hooked together, and that way when I do the finish sanding on this, they'll be exactly the same. And I'll have something that I can line up and get them put together if need be. Again, I got to glue these up and get all this stuff sanded down before I do this, but we'll get that established. We'll get it sanded, glue these pieces together, and we should be in pretty good shape after that. I'll, again, just punch them holes out. We'll get the wiring routes drilled out. We'll get a jack in it. I am going to put a recessed jack plate in. I need to order one of those. Just like the durability, and it's just kind of out of the way. And it's, the traditional tele style jack plate. Now, I made a tool to actually install those. I did a video on that as well, but I'll shoot videos of that so you guys can see that. You have to actually recess this little square plate with a hole in it inside the body and kind of squeeze it, and it spreads out, and locks itself in the hole. Then your jack will go through there, and then your little thimble or cup, if you will, goes in there, and it's all out of the way, and it just looks cool too. Okay, well, thanks again for watching, guys. I really do appreciate all the comments, all the input. It all helps, definitely. We'll see you guys real soon. I got to get back to it. Be good. Okie doke.